Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Okay, so many of you guys may or may not remember me, and that's fine. If you remember me, well done. If you don't, well, I will post the first part link in the comments, but here it is, a long-awaited part 2. So during the case against Karen last week or so, I met Karen's husband, and after 4 hearings, the court ruled in my favor, levying a fine of 15,000 Philippine peso, around $300 in fines to pay for my destroyed headphones replacement, and a 5-year prison sentence with parole after 3 days. The court gave the news Karen's parole has been paid and that she's out in protection. Me and my mom went ahead with a restraining order to protect me, mom, our property, and pets from her in case she attempts to retaliate against me. Retaliation would come from her, but not directly. Her retaliation would be channeled via her husband, which I've had a habit to call a male Karen, Ken, or as many would say Ken, which I'll be using to mention him, the retaliation. So as I mentioned earlier, Ken was there during the case between me and Karen, which ended in my favor. I thought he was a quiet type as he sat out the cases, never saying a word. But that changed when someone opened our gate, and in my complete shock, as I was upstairs, kicked open a locked door of the hinges. Now I was at class doing my turn on a news report. 10th grade history is now modern politics, and through my headphones, I heard a big bang. Asked if I could excuse myself from class, and the teacher agreed. Went to check, and heard him asking where was I. Needless to say, I didn't go down out of fear that I will be beaten, locked my room, and pushed my small cabinet in front of the door, and dialed the emergency number, saying that someone kicked open the locked wooden door and was screaming and shouting threats and racial slurs, even calling my mom a witch and so on in her house. Police arrived a few minutes later and pulled him into the cruiser, where they took my statement, my mom's statement, and his statement, and he was arrested on the spot. Me and my mom agreed that we will charge him in retaliation to what the hell he did, and pushed forward for a court case. Now I have dogs. 3 of them, all of them are in cages during the afternoon as they hate the heat, and they normally sleep. They did bark at him, but it was only for a second before he kicked the door. The response. And another court case. Yep, we went to court again. Same lawyer for me and mom, different judge, and Ken and his lawyer. We sued him on trespassing, property damage, on his verbal threats he screamed at mom when he broke in. And thanks to the CCTV system mom applied to the house, the case was guaranteed in our favor and got in prison for the next 5 years with parole. Earliest time parole can be paid is in 6 months. And probation for another 4 years. During that probation period, he is to serve 5,040 hours in community service. That's like 210 days worth of time. And the confiscation of his driver's license during the house arrest. As for me, well, I am gone. I had a small group of friends that I used to hang out with a lot, even after I graduated from high school in 2009. 3 of them to be exact, Alex, Jonathan, and Eduardo. We did a lot of things together as friends. Sometimes we'd go and hang out at the park, while most of the time we'd hang out at my house playing games and eating lots of great things like homemade pizza. Out of all these 3 friends, Eduardo had been hanging out the most, which, to be honest, didn't bother either me or my mom, who I was living with at the time, especially since half of the time Alex and Jonathan were doing their own thing on their side of the town or couldn't come over themselves, mainly because I lived across town near the foothills, which I found out recently had been turned into a housing development. In fact, because he was around so much, I considered him a brother. Though, truth be told, Eduardo was often the troublemaker of the group, even one among his own family, mainly because he had a bit of an attitude and often hit the bottle whenever he got the chance to, sometimes a little too much because he'd get drunk and do some pretty stupid stuff. most of which was more annoying than anything else and not as severe. Thankfully, I didn't go near any type of alcohol due to the fact that I don't like how it tastes. I tried it once, but it choked me a little. One morning after my mom left for her job at the golf course just past the foothills, me and Eduardo were hanging out at the house. He had actually stayed over for the night and was planning to leave to catch the bus to go home. I had my usual chores to do that day, and I wanted him to go home so I could get them done. Strangely, he didn't seem to want to go for some reason and kept insisting on staying. He then went and took one of my mom's bottles of alcohol, which I think was vodka, went into my bathroom, locked the door, and drank the whole bottle. A portion of alcohol of that size should have killed him, and had I known what he was going to do next, I wish that I did. I don't know how I knew, but something told me that something bad was about to happen, and when he came out of that bathroom, I kept insisting that he'd leave, but he didn't. I went to my mom's room to call her and tell her what he did, but I was on the phone and I started to hear glass breaking and items being thrown against the wall. Apparently, he had gotten drunk and started to go on a rampage by smashing anything he could pick up and throw at the wall. I locked the door and told my mom what was happening. Just as soon as I hung up the phone, he managed to break down the door and broke a few glass things inside mom's room. After which, he grabbed me by the hair and pulled me over a piece of sharp glass that almost cut one of my big toes off. Then he tried to pull me to the ground. I started to panic, thinking that he might end up severely hurting me or worse if he managed to get me low enough. Because I was panicking, I did the only course of action I could think of. I took Poe's pointer fingers and jammed them into his eyes. After he let go to rub his eyes, I managed to escape the room and get to a safe distance from him. He somehow managed to disconnect our phone line because my mom tried to call the house again, but couldn't get through. So she called the police, who didn't even get to the house for a good hour after the call was made. Meanwhile, I had managed to get to the den at the back of the house. Unfortunately, I saw Eduardo at the other end, who had just gotten there with every kitchen knife he managed to gather from the kitchen. I suddenly had an idea as to why he had the knives and quickly closed the den door. And sure enough, the moment I closed it, I heard the knives hitting against the door before hitting the carpet. I managed to exit out the other door that led to the outside from the den, circle around to the front door, and barricaded it with a chair to keep him inside. He didn't try to exit the front door for 10 minutes before screaming in rage that he couldn't get out. I was in the driveway while waiting for the police during this time, as it was the only safe place I could get to. When the police finally arrived, they went to the backyard where Eduardo finally managed to get out through the kitchen door and was making his way to the gate that led to another part of the driveway. They managed to arrest him and my toe was bandaged by the medic. They took my testimony and got my side of the story on what happened. Out of drunken stupidity, Eduardo had the nerve to say that I didn't have any friends. Infuriated by what he said, I told him to shut up. I could have kicked his face in, and he was pinned down to the ground by 2 officers, but I didn't for 2 reasons. My toe was not in any condition for any kicking, and that I had a feeling if I did kick him, it might have made things worse than they could have. Pretty soon he was taken to the hospital to get his stomach pumped in. I set about cleaning up the mess he made. About $1,000 worth of damage. After he was forced to pay for the damages sometime after he got sober, we had a restraining order for him to not come anywhere near the house, as me and my mom were both done with him. Even though the restraining order was made, we ended up seeing him a few times. One of the 2 times I can best remember was when my mom was on her way home from shopping at the store and Eduardo was waiting at a bus stop near the mall. He instantly saw my mom before she saw him and quickly hid. Unfortunately for him, his quick movement caught my mom's attention and she just glared at him as she drove past. The second time was when I was partaking in Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament and saw him hanging out on the couch of the store as I walked in. Both our eyes met and I simply glared at him. He must have been pretty scared when he saw me because about 10 minutes later, I was walking over to a table and saw him hurrying away to the exit, which I snorted at, muttering the word coward. I never saw him again after that, but the last bit of news I heard regarding him is that he got arrested for some stupid course of action, probably got drunk again. I had wished he was sent there after he attacked me, but better late than never. At least he got what he deserved in the end. This happened a few years ago while I was working at a will-not-be-named drugstore. Some of the details are fuzzy, but I'll paraphrase as best as I can. At said drugstore, we have a booth where people can buy lottery tickets, cash their winnings, and so on. I was working said booth when what can best be described as your typical Karen walks in, wanting to check some lotto tickets. Karen hands over 2 lottery tickets and I run them through the ticket reader. Prize already claimed pops up on the screen, meaning the woman had taken these tickets elsewhere and opted to take the winning tickets with her afterward. This meant at best she mixed up her tickets. At worst, she was trying to run a scam. Though why she thought it would work, I am unsure. I say, miss, the system is showing you have already cashed these tickets, meaning you've already received the prize. I put the tickets down on the counter in front of her. Karen says, that's ridiculous. There is X price on this one and X price on this one. Go get your manager. As you wish, my minivan princess. The manager tells her, miss, you've already claimed these prices. There is nothing we can do. Karen does as Karens do and flips out. I was only 16 at the time, so my manager handles her as I stand back and watch. Eventually, something clicks and Karen hears for the first time what I told her 10 minutes ago, and she calms down. Not for long. Crisis averted. My manager returns to her office. Where are my tickets? Karen screams. I placed them on the counter in front of you. They are garbage anyway, since there is no price on them. I didn't take them, someone stole them. I keep all my lottery tickets. Where are they? Me giving her some side eye. Not sure, I'll check around. No lottery tickets to be found anywhere at my station. And I inform her of that. Karen returning to her primal state. I don't have them, so clearly someone stole them. Call the police right now, or I will. This time I go to my manager's office and inform her of the situation. Cue malicious compliance. We decide if she wants the cops involved. Then very well, we'll oblige. We do this both because if she calls, she'll likely say something nuts and cruisers will roll up prepped for an armed robbery, which will be a huge waste of police resources. And as well, perhaps this is a good time for Karen to learn appropriate use of emergency services. I call the non-emergency line and tell Karen to sit tight. We live in a quiet suburb-like town in our city, so a single officer arrives shortly thereafter. I speak to the officer and inform them of the situation, noting specifically we called in the best interest of the situation. Karen and the officers step into the break room to chat. What I hope occurred was a stern talking to and a swift diagnosis of Karenotitis, followed by some crocodile tears and a hefty fine as a flush-faced, purse falling off her shoulder, tip-tap walk running Karen emerged and made the beeline for the exit, not making eye contact with anyone. The satisfaction of a lightly cursing Karen struggling to find her sunglasses in the cosmic wasteland of her purse. My neighbors are the worst. We've been living at this house for over 10 years and we've had problems with them since the beginning. They use our basketball net without asking. They let their dog run loose, so we're always scared we're gonna hit him. They were once trimming their hedges and cut our cable line and refused to get it fixed. The parents let their kids do whatever the hell they want. Their dog poops on our lawn and they don't pick it up. The dad drives so fast on the street he's bound to kill someone one day. The mom whines about my mom behind her back. You get the point. Recently, their thing has been that they blast their music when they are in their backyard. And when I say blast, I mean you can hear it from our end of the street all the way to the other end. It's insane. And this can be at 11 a.m. or at 11 p.m. It's constant. Now that you have the background, we fast forward to today. At 1 p.m. their music starts. Insanely loud, but whatever. It's during the day, let them have their fun. I go to work, come back, and my mom is freaking out. She has work tomorrow morning and my brother has to be up at 5 and it's 11 p.m. Their music is somehow louder than before. We can hear it in our house. At this point, I'm over it. They have been such bad neighbors, and this is the last straw. So we call public security. They tell us that they can only send an officer if we will be willing to testify against him in court, should that be necessary. Okay, that's a bit extreme. Whatever. We will deal with it. I walk over and see that my neighbor's son's bratty 16-year-old friends are outside. Okay, whatever. I ignore them and go to the front door. One of his bratty friends says, "Are you complaining about the noise?" "Yeah." "Which?" I ignored him, knock on the door, and the mom answers. She says I scared her because she thought I was the police. "Which? So you know you're being horrible?" I explain that it's too loud and I called the police already. She apologizes. She'll be the end of it. The bratty kid says, "Wait, you called the police? I know you guys have a ton of weed on you, so I doubt you want me to have to do that again. So keep it down. Why don't you call the police again, you witch?" At this point, I was basically back at my front door, but you don't have the upper hand here, bratty 16-year-old. I pull out my phone, dial public security, and show them my screen as it's ringing. "Hi. I called a few minutes ago about a noise complaint, but I actually just went over and not only is their music insanely loud, but there is a lot of underage drinking and I have never seen a group of people scatter so fast. No, not as in dead gone, as in I'm not living here anymore gone. I'm moving houses and by next month, I'll be saying goodbye to my old home, Karen and Ken. Oh wait, I can't. I apologized to the late post as I promised it last week. I'm very sorry, but life has been very hectic recently and I've finally got myself a bit of breathing room, which is why the part 2 is shorter than the part 1. Again, very sorry for a shorter and late delivery of part 2. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.